Here we are. We have the panel ready for water. I've sanded it. And as you can see, the areas where there's raw beeswax showing, or caustic medium in this case, is going to be the negative area outside the guitar. Probably the ugliest point of the painting process. It's been sanded. The paper looks all raw, but you notice there's no gloss. When he's burnishing and before we sanded, there's a lot of gloss on the magazine paper. We got that taken off. So now I'm going to take some water. I'm going to spray it on top of the panel. Let it soak into that paper. We'll give it a second. I'll move the water around with my fingers. And then I'll start putting a little pressure down. And what that'll do is just move that pulp. That paper is going to turn to a pulp. I'll move it around and take it off of the surface. But the ink on the bottom side of that magazine page will be stuck to the beeswax, which is pretty awesome. That's where I get my color. I'll put the camera down on this and we'll do a little time lapse so you can watch it in fast motion. All right, I changed my mind about doing the time lapse on the removal of the paper. As you can see, I took my bottle of water, sprayed it all over the panel, and now I'm just taking my hands and moving that water around. And I can feel that paper kind of soaking it in. Exactly what I want. And you can see it, the ink from the magazine paper is kind of gets everywhere. So I'm just going to lightly move my fingers around on top of that paper, and I'll notice it's starting to kind of disintegrate under my fingers and come off of the panel. And I try not to work one area too long, giving it all a chance to kind of evenly soak up some water. Yeah, especially around these edges. I've already rubbed off some ink on a important part there, I think. We'll see. And it never fails. I'm going to rub some ink off. That's just part of it. Just try not to get too much. You know, sometimes it adds to the character of the painting. It gives it a life, you know, like it's been through distress. Or if it's aged, something, you know, a patina, I guess. But too much of it, then it looks unintentional and can get ugly. We don't want ugly. Yeah. You can't tell, this is a red guitar. I'm trying to do a variety pack here. This is number 3 of 4 in a series I'm doing. And as I'm taking this paper off, I'm noticing areas that get dry. And if at any point I feel like it's too dry, I'm going to stop and spray some more water on it. Like over here, I noticed that was feeling dry, so I'm going to put some more water down. But while I got this side wet, I'm going to go ahead and work on it. It's another little workout. While this takes a little endurance, it's not near as bad as the sanding. The sanding is terrible. And I've noticed over the years, the paintings that have the smaller pieces, the more details, this one is one of those, the harder it is to sand. I tried to make sure when I was cutting in the details for the strings, I wanted to get the shadows of the strings too. I just think it makes it more three-dimensional. And since this guitar this image I did has a lot more focus on the frets and the strings, so I wanted to make sure that I spent a little time on those areas to make sure that I got some good details. It's funny, it's almost every subject needs attention in certain areas. I think that's what makes them, another reason they feel so alive is a hyper focus on details on some areas while not on others. So it's just wonky enough, but just realistic enough to draw you in and wonder how the hell it's made. I don't want all my paintings to look just like my subject. There's got to be something off kilter. Not that I would ever be able to make this perfect. I just feel like sometimes as artists we try to get too close to the real thing, and I think that's where we lose our reasoning for doing it. If you want it to be just like it, then you could. I mean, I'm not taking away from realist artists that can paint something and make it look like a photo, but I don't want to do that. To me, I'd rather just take a photo if I want a photo. And I think the draw to my work is the imperfections and then this questioning of how it's made. And for me, it's the dissecting of the image and breaking it down in all these little tiny pieces and trying to figure out what deserves my attention and what do I just want to get done enough to call it done. So, a little more than you probably wanted to know. Who knows? Yeah, I think the guitar neck, the frets, the strings, yeah, it's looking good. And so I'll get this paper pretty much off. And then I'm going to notice some areas that I need to take a rag and buff out a little bit. And part of that, I know exactly why it does it. It's because of the magazine. Some magazines, the ink doesn't release that well. And I just happen to have a box or a drawer over here full of just random clippings that I've sorted out by color. And I know I had some red from a particular magazine that doesn't transfer great. So now I'm going to have to do a little work to make it kind of blend in with the rest. Not a big deal. It's just learning the magazines is part of it. I mean, I'm usually pretty good about not mixing them up or noticing when I get one that's not particularly going to be a good one, but they do get by me. But it can also add to the composition. Well, that guitar looks almost pink. Yeah, so there's these red spots over here. The ones that look almost pink, they got a white haze on them, and that's one of those magazines that has the paper that just won't release. Okay, I didn't expect this red guitar to be so freaking red. I don't know if I like it or not. We're going to see here. I try not to judge too much at this point because there's still a lot of work left to do. And it's amazing the difference in one of my paintings after I've carved in the details and brought some highlights out. I mean, it's pretty. I think I got some good details. I like the contrast of the knobs. I've got some pretty good, highlights and stuff in there already, and I haven't even carved. But once I carve the strings, get them the way I want, I think those shadows will show up better. Then I'll carve in those there's lines, so that black strip right there will actually have a couple of areas where I just bring the tool across. That'll tone that down just a little bit and make it fit in a little bit better. But yeah, there you go. My really red guitar. I wore a red t-shirt today, so I match my artwork. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna get ready to do the carving.